Okay, so the next part of the video here, as promised, is the Eastern region. Again, we're going to start left to right, and we're going to start here at the J15. This is just like a little branch line passenger stroke goods engine, although mainly designed for goods. This is actually a pre-grouping locomotive. It was most famous for working along in the East Anglia section on the local pickup goods and small passenger trains. Next up we have a Thompson L1. These engines weren't as successful as I first thought. Upon reflection, they rode a bit roughly and would always wear the bearings out quite quickly. On them were much better and a more accurate detail. This is on the back of the box. Next to it we have a Peppercorn K1. This is an engine that I saw in the shop and I thought, oh, I like that one. It was purely an impulse buy, but it was definitely worthwhile getting it. It's been a solid performer ever since I bought it, and it's always a pleasure just to watch it running around with a small goods train. Next up is an engine of much controversy in amongst the model railway community. Some people saying they're great, some people saying they're absolutely awful. And this is a Helgen 02. So far, just touching some wood, I haven't had any problems with it. It's been a regular performer. It's a bit fussy on some of the corners, but it gets round them without chucking itself off. And it's been a regular performer and has been in a video before. Next up is probably the most correct locomotive for my layout. This Peppercorn A1, most notably being the newly made 50th member of the class. Although this class did exist during the steam days, this particular example definitely didn't. So it's probably going to just be kept for the odd diesel days when I'm running them. Just having a steam special behind this locomotive. I'm planning on replacing it with a Bachmann or maybe even a kit-built Pacific. Okay, so moving up, we have the two Hornby A3s, both the same locomotive. This one, the green one, I had first. I had this one first because at the time I thought end of steam would be where I'm going for, but the more footage I watch and the more I watch it, the more during any period of the steam era I wanted to do. So when Hornby announced the blue version of the Scotsman with a single chimney, I thought definitely I'd have to pick this one up, as until now these ones were as rare as rocking horse doodah to get. And I do have a particular soft spot for the BR Blue livery. The steam era BR Blue, not the diesel era BR Blue. Although I did think that, although a bit boring, it did sort of suit some of the diesels it was put on. And now finally we're moving over to the jewel in the crown of the Eastern Region fleet, which is the A4. If it doesn't look like it's sitting properly at the minute, it's currently under some repair work, replacing the motor on it and just doing some overall improvements to the loco. Again, this one I need to do a little bit of rubbing down here and getting rid of the modern warning flashes, and I will probably buy a new tender body, as during the steam era Bitten never had a corridor tender. Her original tender, which is the one she was paired up with from the date of manufacture, was always a non-corridor tender, as you see here on the Scotsman. But they rebuilt it into the tender format in the preservation era to allow the longer running. And also, most notably, she nicked the second tender from the Scotsman to allow longer runs to be performed with less water stops. So that here is my Eastern Region fleet. There are still more to come. Most notably, I have pre-ordered another A4 in the blue, the record holder herself, Mallard. I have plans to get a DJH kit of the A2/2 and build that up, as well as a P2, a Bachmann Peppercorn A2, and obviously a V2 needs to be purchased somewhere down the line, and a B1. But other than that, I think the Eastern region's pretty much covered. I think a B16 or a B17 might be in order at some point, but I'm in no hurry because, again, the Eastern region is pretty well catered for here. The only engine region really that has the same amount of locos is the standard classes as you saw at the beginning of the video. So next we'll move on to probably the second largest collection of locos I got, being the Southern region. Okay, so now we're at the Southern region. This is the second largest collection of locomotives I have. So we're going to start here at the beginning with the first ever attempt at my weathering, so excuse it for being very, very shoddy. And again, my first Southern loco in the Southern olive green. This is a class N15 King Arthur, alongside a Lord Nelson. Now the Lord Nelson represents the future for my layout, which will probably be surprising as there's more modern steam locomotives alongside it. But this is my first digital locomotive. I haven't actually ran it yet, as I'm still waiting for the handset to arrive. If anyone's wondering, I'm just going with the Hornby Elite system. I'm not too hot on DCC. As long as I put a chip in the engine, I don't blow them up, I'm pretty much happy. This locomotive in particular is DCC sound. But moving on next to it now, we have my West Country Bude. This one was my second attempt at weathering, and I'm on the whole more happier with this one. This is a West Country in unrebuilt form. I do have plans of getting a Battle of Britain in unrebuilt form, and then obviously West Country and Battle of Britain rebuilt. Alongside that, we have the bigger version. We have the Merchant Navy. This particular one is Clan Line in unrebuilt form. This one was pre-ordered from Hornby the minute basically they announced it. The minute they announced it and the options were made available, I pre-ordered it. At the time, I was going to order the other one, Holland North Africa line, but as I was still DC and didn't have any ambition to change over to DCC, I just bought the DC one as it was cheaper. But again, it would be no real hassle really just to put a chip in this locomotive. I might even put sound in this one, I haven't made up my mind yet. Alongside that is my older tooling Merchant Navy rebuild from Hornby. This one was out of the Bournemouth Bell train pack, and I do also have the coach pack for that, so it is a full 6-coach Pullman train, complete with headboard. And alongside that we have Cunard White Star. This one's appeared in many videos on the channel. Probably my favourite Southern region loco at the minute, this one. I just think it looks brilliant. This one has been weathered by Northern Emmy, and they've done an absolutely amazing job of it. So that is it for the Southern region. We're now heading over to the last final little segment, which is diesel locomotives and some oddities that I've got. Okay, so now we're back at the final piece of the video, which is just some diesels and oddities that I have. So we're going to start here. Got my Bachmann Class 08 little yard shunter. This one's a very, very smooth runner. A little bit noisy when it gets up to speed, it makes a squealing noise, but it doesn't really affect the performance of the loco, so I haven't really got too worried about it. It's a very well detailed model, very delicate and very fragile in a few places, but on the whole it's pretty good. Originally when I bought it, I thought it was going to be black, so the fact that it was green with no wasp stripes and warning panels on it was quite a surprise. I do have envisions of getting a black Class 8 shunter. Alongside that is an old Lima Class 26. This one's a pretty reliable runner considering its age. This was bought years ago, second hand, when I was a lot younger, and something cheap and cheerful that would last the neglect of a young railway modeller, should we say. Moving on, we have my Rail Freight Class 20. I'm still deciding what to do with this one, whether to sell it on, clean it up, service it, sell it on, whether to keep it and have it repainted or just leave it as is. I'll probably leave it as is. If I decide to keep it, it'll probably just be a case of rule 1, I run what I want. Alongside that, I have my Western Region hydraulic warship. I do have visions on getting a Western and a high mech to go with it, as well as a Class 22. Alongside that, we have a Class 45 Peak. This is probably the oldest engine that I owned, I bought with my own money. I've had this one for well over 10 years now, and it's still a very reliable high performer to this day. Now on to the oddities. I have this old Mehano German style diesel, painted up in British Railways blue and yellow warning ends. This is how it came. I don't know why, but that's how it came. And finally, have this old Pico or Pico BR03 Hungarian or German steam locomotive. I've been told it's Hungarian, but I'm starting to think that it will probably be German. Either way, it's a very, very well detailed piece for its age. It's just absolutely amazing. It needs a new tender weight. It needs some work doing to it to make it more reliable. But I reckon it'll be a fantastic addition to the fleet once it's made ready. So with that, that is all of my locomotives that are currently running and operating, all under repairs. Hope you've enjoyed this video. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.